What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're having a look at Nami and Carina. So I was lucky enough to pull this character, and I have actually had a lot of fun using this character in Pirate Rumble since pulling this unit. I think this unit is actually going to be somewhat meta moving forward for Free Spirit or Cerebral teams. Basically, if you can fit this character on a team, it's worth trialing out. It is dependent though, it is team dependent because this character is not a damage dealing character. This unit is just for pure utility focused effects, but the amount of really cool things that this character can do, and she synergizes pretty well in particular with Free Spirit, which is what we're predominantly going to be focusing in on today. So let's actually get to talking about Nami and Carina and exactly what they do in Pirate Rumble. So Nami and Carina, they're a dual unit obviously, so they're not classified as a type, but they are Free Spirit and Cerebral. Their Rumble ability is interesting, so they give everyone 4 health, 4 speed, and 3 recovery. The recovery is actually pretty key because that synergizes really well with Rumble Rare Recruit Otama to provide more recovery to the crew. Then it says that if you have one of the Straw Hats during Film Gold, or you have one of the Tesoro crewmates, including Tesoro himself, if that is fulfilled, you give -3 defense to all enemies, which is a really good crewmate ability, to be honest, and as we said, can synergize well with a lot of other characters in the game. This character has a really crazy Rumble special though, 24 CT, which is very respectable, targeting 2 enemies with high special CT for a 40% special CT delay, as well as level 4 defense down for 15 seconds. Now that by itself would have already been pretty decent, but then up to 2 times. So this occurs 4 separate occurrences where they can target 2 enemies. Well, it's 2 separate occurrences twice, 4 total occurrences of 40% delay to their special CT and level 4 defense down, which is just so good. A great utility piece, avoiding the enemy from using their specials. Now this is a pretty good kit all in and of itself, but it definitely is amplified when you're able to apply some special CT increase on your crew, making it so that you can launch this special more often, because the more you use this special, the more your opponent is unable to use their specials, which is just so good. And then her behavior pattern, they have the self-healing, which goes well with their Rumble ability for some recovery, so they're self-sufficient in terms of providing some HP recovery to themselves. Then they also will have the ability to target closest enemies, which is whatever, but the resistance completely evades Special Bind, which is a nice touch, and also reduces damage taken from Driven and Free Spirit by 30%. I actually kind of love this because Special Bind can be really annoying to deal with sometimes, and if they're inflicted with it, they can't launch their special, but this is perfect because it means that they are pretty much always going to be able to launch their special, unless if they get action binded, which unfortunately they can still be action binded. So that is the run through of Nami and Carina in Rumble. Excited to show you guys exactly what they're capable of in today's video. So jumping into the first match here, we're going to have our Free Spirit squad up against the brand new challenge difficulty versus Shiki. Now, in the first few clips, you guys are going to be seeing pretty much the same team, but versus one of the challenge difficulties, I had to change the team up slightly, and we'll talk more about that once we get there. But just to give you guys a rundown, obviously we've got Nami and Carina who we want to showcase here, and in terms of the Free Spirit squad, these seem to be the characters that kind of like piece together the best right now, as we've got Zoro, who provides amazing bulk, and you know, the thing about it is this team doesn't actually really output a hell of a lot of damage. Like, you got Sanji, who can do okay damage. Obviously Gear 5 Luffy, we know what he's capable of doing, but Zoro surprisingly does add quite a fair bit of damage with his provoke and an attack effect. It's really strong, you know, with his counter, and especially in the late game, like in the last 30 seconds, the amount of damage that Zoro outputs with his counter is ridiculous, especially because everyone becomes very squishy in that last 30 seconds. It's kind of crazy how things go. Otama, obviously, because she gives us special CT at the start of the quest and works very well with Nami and Carina, and the healing mechanics that she provides is just really nice to have. But I would say that's kind of the crux of this team, is against really bulky teams, you're probably going to go to time, and that can really be a hindrance to this squad actually working effectively. So offensively, the team can struggle at times, but if you have the capabilities of time on your side, and you can get lucky hits with your gear 5 if they're arranged correctly. You can get some really good fixed damage. Alternatively, you could take out Zora for another offensive threat like Odin, for example. I never really tried that, but that is an option, but then you'd lose out on a lot of defensive capabilities that Zora does provide for your team. You can see we actually did get quite a lot of damage output there, which is really solid there. And then we can start using our gear 5, who is obviously really nice to get. The big fixed damage, and then the damage through defense is massive. And then NAMI CARINA consistently reversing the opponent's special so they cannot get their special to launch, which is so freaking good, especially against Yamato or Moria. Those are very, very annoying characters to come up against, specifically in an int team, and Apu can definitely be annoying if you've got side characters like Gear 5 Luffy would not appreciate that at all. So a pretty cool win versus the recent Shiki fight. The second game I'm showcasing here is against Bluejam, which in my opinion is the most difficult of the quick challenge difficulty fights, and we're using the same team once again. So the front line I'm not really too threatened about. I mean, Kaido can do decent damage, but he really isn't that big of a threat. His numbers aren't crazy high. What I am kind of scared about is Porchemi and Bluejam. Those two Rumble Rare recruits are extremely annoying to deal with. Porchemi can do really good fixed damage, and then you've got Bluejam, which can halve some certain stats of characters that he targets, and then he also does damage and can actually do really good damage against you. But luckily for us, we just kind of tear through the opponent. You see the Nami special reversing some of those specials of the opponent, lowering their defense so that the rest of our characters can do more damage against them. Luffy gets a really good target here with his special, unfortunately unable to get a knockout. But the thing is up against these challenge difficulty quests, the opponents are going to have really high stats that aren't normally accessible in normal Rumble. So, you know, Gear 5 would have probably knocked out something, and that's the thing, is if Gear 5 hits someone that he hit with his fixed damage, he's likely going to knock them out, and that's just really awesome to see that, you know, when Gear 5 uses his special, more often than not, you're going to get a knockout, which is really nice to see. Zora coming in, obviously adding some more bulk and some more offensive power to the rest of the team, and the defense down capabilities of Nami with their Rumble ability, they give -3 defense, and then when they use their special, not only do they reverse the opponent's specials, but they also inflict defense down to some characters as well, and that's really nice, as it does allow not only, you know, Luffy to do even more damage per se, but for Sanji in particular, because Sanji is your other character that will be outputting some damage against the opponent, and also lowering their defense means that when they target Zora with the provoke and the counter mechanic, that Zora does more damage against them too. So Nami is kind of like a dual threat, where yes, she's providing some gimmicks against the opponent, preventing them from using their specials, but also making it so that they're easier to take down. And one thing that I would love to try, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if you could squeeze in Law and Kid as well, who also provide defense down against Driven Powerhouse, like, it just further solidifies Free Spirit absolutely destroying Driven and Powerhouse teams. Obviously, it is still unit dependent at the end of the day. But in this case here, we're pretty much sold on winning this game, just reversing the specials once again in the late game so that the opponent can't use their specials. King come off the bench and he is ready to go with his special, which is a little bit scary, but, you know, we just knock out 2 opponents there. We knock out another one with Gear 5 Luffy, and then 8v2, the opponent pretty much can't do anything, and we're going to pick up a victory. The third game of this video is up against the Sandersonia Strength Challenge, and I actually did have to speed up this video. This actually went pretty deep into time for this particular clip, which I was kind of surprised about. I would have thought that compared to the int team, for example, or the Bluejam team, that it would have actually been a lot faster. But surprisingly enough, it actually made it a little bit more difficult going up against some of these characters that my opponent has. And we actually are speeding up this video just a little bit here, just to help for the video's sake. But, you know, Nami, reversing some of those specials, of course, but the bench is really scary on my opponent's side with Vivi, which can inflict special bind. As we know, Nami and Karina Karina can avoid special bind, but some of the other characters on our team cannot, and that can be very frustrating. And especially Odin as well, he can be annoying to deal with, but when Kobe comes off the bench, I believe if he says that if you have 5 or less characters left on your team, that every time he launches a special, he's going to completely charge one of his crewmates. And I believe in this, it was either this clip, I'm pretty sure it was this clip actually, where the opponent uses their Kobe to charge Odin after he just launched his special. So the opponent uses like 2 Odin specials, and you know, that can be pretty threatening to deal with. And you know, they got Toki, which can actually semi-counter what Nami and Karina try to do. So you see the Odin uses their special here, Kobe is just about ready to go, and then he fully charges Odin again. It's getting really scary, especially because they got Kuma to come up as well, and Kuma can obviously do damage through defense, and things were looking a little scary here, but luckily the bench does kind of pull through with some pretty nice characters as well. But we're able to squeak out a victory against this strength team, despite it being a little more closer than I was expecting it to be. But even still, you know, when things are getting a little threatening against a hyper-offensive team, we can still get the job done, which is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to using this character a bit more in normal Pyro Rumble, not just these single matches. But I'm really excited to show you guys the final clip of this video, which I found to be really fascinating. So the final clip of this video is up against the Urouge challenge, which I think is also kind of difficult, and I was using Gear 5 initially, and I lost like 2 times in a row. So I ended up switching out Gear 5 Luffy for Luffy Yamato, and I immediately won. So from what I can gather from that, obviously it's a very small use case scenario, but from my experience of what I've had with, you know, this particular Free Spirit setup, is that Gear 5 is probably the most optimal unit to use in most setups. But you're up against a team that can have really bulky characters, healers, and hyper defensive units, then Luffy Yamato are likely going to be the better choice. Remember, as we said, Nami can consistently launch her special to reverse those specials, which makes it easier for you to survive, prevents them from using defense increasing or healing specials, but also lowering their defense. And then Luffy Yamato being able to attack all characters, unlike Gear 5 Luffy, which can only attack in a horizontal range, does make a big difference, especially in that final 50 seconds of the match. Being able to launch that special, hit everyone twice with big damage, and then damage through defense to one unit. It's like a pseudo Gear 5 in a way, slightly different, and they work just as well. So I had really big success with the Luffy Yamato setup, definitely really liked it. And honestly, you could kind of switch and change. Sometimes you're feeling a little Gear 5 Luffy, sometimes you're feeling a little Luffy Yamato. It is just dependent on what kind of opponents you're coming up against. But all in all, that's going to wrap it up for me. Overall, I'm a big fan of Nami and Karina. I think that they're a phenomenally designed Rumble character. I think they're a really well-designed unit in normal content as well. I think this is a big success, and I think that if you pull Nami and Karina in the future, you're going to be pretty happy with it. So I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
僕がこの手でけじめをつける。俺は海賊王になる男だ。食らいやがれ。やってやろうじゃねえか。地獄の王に。ルフィ、行くぞ。